Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Lockery from Canada's podcast, where we talk to entrepreneurs who are making things happen right here in BC. Today, I'm joined by Maureen Cottasbody, the founder, director, and therapist at Help Clinic Canada. Welcome, Maureen. And why don't you kick us off by telling us a bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Thank you for having me, Cynthia. It's great to be here. I think my introduction says it all. I am the founder of a new company, but it's been a long journey to get here. And I personally have a mission to break down barriers to mental health support across this country. And that's what brought this vision to life. So I personally, come from a background of education, inclusive education, and then most recently mental health. And I've sort of combined all of my lived and life experiences as well as my professional and educational experiences to bring this company to life. And it's one of my greatest achievements. While we are small and we are just starting, I know that everything that we do within this organization is in line with my ethics and my um, principles. And I am so proud of the work that we're doing and what we're creating here at Health Clinic Canada.
Okay, let's talk about what you're creating because I had a chance to go on your website and I got to tell you, I loved how simple it is to use, but also how you can choose a therapist based on your specific needs. So, can you explain what your format is for finding a therapist?
Yeah, and I think Cynthia, that's one of the founding principles of our company, and I think you bring up a really good point. Well, it just looks like a really simple website. It was really thoughtfully designed so that all of our clients, no matter who they are, have agency and autonomy over who they choose as their therapist. So we don't like to put barriers in the way. So we tried to make it as accessible as possible. So people first go by choosing their province based on regulations and making sure that they have a certified counselor within their where they live. And then they can go through maybe areas of concern. They can go through languages that they speak. They can look for matches based on the therapist's expertise or personal background. We are very proudly diverse in our community, and some of those are visible diversities, and some are invisible. But if people are not sure who the right fit is for them, if they can't figure it out on our very simple website, they can call us, they can email us, and we will tailor match a therapist to them. And we're really, really proud of being able to find a therapist for almost anyone in Canada. And so, yeah, thank you for noticing the simplicity of the design because it was really such an important component when we set out on this mission.
So, for our listeners, just to help you understand what we're talking about here, it's an online platform where you can connect with the counselor and then have virtual sessions. So, the person may not be in the same city as you, and it doesn't matter because it's all done virtually, which is somebody who lives in a rural community who has to drive a lot to see specialists. I appreciate that. It's less driving, so you can actually spend more time just talking to the counselor and less time in the car.
Yeah, Cynthia, you know what? I too live in a really small community, and that is one of the things that we really believe in is like we want access to everyone, whether they're rural, urban, remote, or in a big city. Pretty much anyone can access this at any time. And it's not even just remote communities that people struggle with things like transportation or cost of transportation or time involved in transportation, not to mention the environmental impacts of all of those things. We're trying to really reduce barriers in all aspects and have a thriving practice. And we know, you know, COVID allowed us to see the gift of seeing specialists online and how easy it can be. And really, I think now there's, there's really no limits. And one of the things that I know uniquely is that there's lots of people in remote communities that, like you, have to drive for hours just to see somebody. I have extended health benefits myself, and I don't have access to somebody in my own community to get the support that I need that's covered for me. And so I know there's lots of people in lots of, working and getting benefits that can't access these services. And, you know, therapy is one of the things that you can do online and you don't need to physically be there. So, we're making sure that everybody can access support no matter where they are.
I love that. So let's talk about why you decided to go the entrepreneur route versus, the safer route. The work that you do, you could easily find a 9 to 5 job that somebody wrote you a paycheck. So what inspired you to take this road?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Cynthia. I think that's something that's really near and dear to my heart. And, I'll try to give you the short answer, but I've been a working professional for over 25 years. I've worked in mental health, education, inclusive education. I've done all kinds of roles. I've lived around the world. I'm very fortunate. I have a really good background, a really good education. And like you said, I could work full time today for somebody doing one of the amazing things that I'm skilled at and I love doing. But what I've realized is, one, I worked a lot of frontline work over my career. I worked, with a lot of high needs, complex cases over many years. And it's, it's time for me to pivot. And I intentionally went back, retrained to become a therapist, and now get to utilize all the skills, all the experience to create something else. And, yes, I could just work full time for somebody, but ultimately, I believe that in order to create a business where I really feel aligned with, that I feel is ethical, that I feel has principles that I believe in, I realized that I was going to have to create it myself. And so that's what I started doing. And it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, and it's not an easy undertaking. And of course, I could have taken an even easier route and just done private practice, and that would have been easier. It's still working for myself, but I realized, that there's so many gaps in healthcare and in mental health care in this country, and we're trying to address those gaps one at a time. And there's no way that I could have realized that dream by working for somebody else. And so I want to create the place where I want to work, and I want to create a place that I feel proud of, and that everybody can get support with. And I want to kind of like gracefully exit, my professional career having left something great, having left something that I believe in and that I can stand behind. And so, it's really right now very much a passion driven project. We're really at the beginning. And so I'm investing my time, my money, my energy into building this thing that I want, knowing that it's going to take time, knowing that I'm sacrificing some things to get the thing I want in the end. And entrepreneurship is definitely a steep learning curve for me. I have lots of expertise, none of which are in business or finance or any of these areas, but I outsource, I ask for help, I connect with people, and I am really proud that I'm building a team of people who help me, who I trust, who believe in what we're doing primarily. Like that is the first question I ask everybody. And then they come on board, and I trust that their expertise will help push us into the, whatever areas are next as we build slowly. And, I have to say, I proudly have employed a lot of female entrepreneurs in Canada to help me realize this vision. And that's also something I'm quite passionate about. And I feel proud that I am able to say, hey, look what we built together. And I couldn't have done it without the expertise of so many amazing entrepreneurs in Canada, I'll be honest. So, yeah.
I love that. And I have interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs, and not one person said, I did this to get rich. It's because of passion. It's because we have a road we want to take that might not be there. So we need to create it ourselves. So, what's one piece of information or knowledge about your industry or the work that you do that would be of interest to listeners so they understand a little bit more?
Yeah, I think there's a few pieces of our organization that if you looked on our website and read our mission and vision, you could understand. But it goes deeper than that. So one of the really passionate things for me is that in female dominated professions, and therapy happens to be one of those, people are notoriously underpaid. So if you work for a government agency, you have high caseloads, which leads to high burnout, which leads to not really getting the support that you need for yourself, and also being underpaid and being undervalued. And so one of the really pinnacle points of our organization is that we believe that the therapist should see most of the money for the full fee sessions that we offer. Um, and so, as an organization, right now, we are not sort of moving away from that guiding principle. And so, we believe that over time, we will create a community of therapists that want to be with us, that believe in our mission and vision, and are there not just for that financial advantage, but because we believe in moderate caseloads where people are able to manage their own mental health while supporting other people. And then the other part of my company, which I'm so proud of building, is our low fee program. So we have master student therapists that are able to provide amazing therapy for only $25. And because we don't have a brick and mortar location, we're really trying to streamline any fees. And all of those fees go to cover things like supervision, the paperwork needed to support the students, as well as training and other opportunities. I am, as I said, an educator. And so for me, paramount to everything I do is creating safe learning spaces. And so the opportunity to do that for graduate students is equally as much of a passion for me as it is like being in elementary schools. And so, I really believe that we all deserve spaces where we feel safe. And so, you know, there is financial pieces tied to these principles, and some of those margins are very, very tight. And from a business perspective, people question them. But when we run the numbers, we can see that it will be a sustainable business model. And that we just need to rely on the fact that we will grow slowly and we will get enough clients through to make us a sustainable business. And that's really the goal so that we can just help more people, right?
Discover the latest trends, strategies, and success stories in the ever-evolving world of business. CanadasPodcast.com. Subscribe now.
Oh, I just love that. And as somebody who used to teach at a Western university, I will say that I love that because there's so many bright minds coming up that need a space to grow. So, um, what what are you most proud of in terms of the work you do? You've talked about your passion, but what at the end of the day do you feel pride in?
I don't know if this is the answer you'd expect, but I think the thing I'm most proud of is being able to see my vision come to life. Because one of the biggest obstacles for me, of course, as I said, is I don't have the business skills. I don't have the expertise. And so self-doubt can creep in very, very quickly. And when I meet other people in business and they, offered me advice in the guise of sort of being critical of me and trying to face all of that and still come up smiling and still come up proud of what I'm doing, I think realistically, there's been highs and lows, and I would never deny the low. It's just part of the journey. And here I am on the other side, still creating it, still building it, and still just so proud of all the work that I've done to get here, because it's not something I just was like, oh, okay, I know exactly what to do, right? I had to figure it all out, and I'm still figuring it out, and I'm learning from my mistakes, and I'm getting it wrong, and that's okay. And I'm so proud that I'm still standing here strong enough to say, hey, I am going to do this. Nothing's going to stop me. And had I met you 25 years ago, I don't know that I would be capable of having that conversation. And that speaks to my own growth as a professional, my own mental health, my own support systems, right? And so, I kind of practice what I preach. I wouldn't be here without the support of the people I have around me. And I'm so proud that I've stuck to what I want to do, no matter what has come in my way. And so I think that's it.
I love that. Um, what advice would you give someone who's considering starting out an entrepreneur? They're listening to this, they're saying, that sounds great. Is there any advice that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I've certainly made my share of mistakes. And I think that some of those mistakes have made me realize that, even though I'm a person that really truly is in tune to my gut, I listen to all of my senses. I listen to what my brain is telling me in those situations. I didn't always listen. And it's really easy in retrospect to look back and go, hey, yeah, I see where I faltered there. But my biggest piece of advice, right? It's not just the listening to your gut. It's like taking a moment and not making decisions until you've thought through all the possible scenarios and you can truly say that like I made that choice because it was exactly what I needed or what I wanted for my company. But in the moment, right, it just you feel a little bit of pressure from people who want things from you and you're trying to make decisions and I made mistakes there and that's okay. I've learned, but I'm really glad if I can share that with other people starting out. Listen to your gut, take some time, process all of the scenarios that you need to. You never have to give anyone an answer until you're able. And so trust yourself.
I love that. It's so true. And there's so many people that will tell you their advice on what they would do. And I have found a lot of that advice doesn't relate to the journey I'm on or my values and beliefs. And it's you take what works for you and you discard the rest.
Mm.
So, um, we're both based in BC. We're both on islands on the West Coast.
Mhm.
What's some of the benefits of being based and you're a virtual company, but you're based in BC?
Mhm. The benefits for me, are there's so many layers to that. And I know we had another conversation about this, Cynthia. I have a family and I have small children and I want to be present in their lives, but I also want the opportunity for them to have the best life. And BC is such a beautiful, beautiful place to live, work, and play. And um, you know, being able to live a little bit remotely is just such a gift. Having lived in big cities, having worked frontline work, like I said, BC is just such an amazing province with so many opportunities. And so being able to work remotely allows us to have balance in our lives as a family and allows us to, do the things that we're truly passionate about. And, it's so funny because sometimes, obviously I, talk about balance and all the things with clients and everybody else. And at the end of the day, I can look out my window and I can see the forest and I just, can inhale and exhale without even leaving the remoteness. And it's all around me. And I'm just so pleased to be able to give that to my kids.
Yeah, I have a forest outside my window too.
I love it. Yeah.
So I get it. It's we don't have to escape to get to nature. It's out our back door. What's some of the challenges of being in BC?
Yeah, it's an expensive province, for sure. I think, Cynthia and I, we were talking about this earlier, right? We were talking about access to support. Living remote, it's harder to get the support that you need as well. There's like lots of shortages in our province. I think it is a commitment to live here in terms of time. So if you want to go anywhere big, you're getting on a plane or it's quite a drive, right? And while we do have Vancouver at our fingertips, it doesn't have everything in terms of access and business and connections, and there's always a lot of things happening in the East. And so, it's kind of it's just kind of that little bit further away from everything else. And so always I don't always have the access, but I say that, and then I also, our fractional CFO is in Ontario, and I'm able to employ her because it's a remote business, right? So like there is both of those things happening simultaneously.
Yeah, I just returned from my quarterly trip to Ontario, where 70% of my clients are, but I'm on the West Coast. So, how do you define success? But most importantly, how do you celebrate?
Mm. Because I'm a new company and we're still in that, very early growth phase, sometimes it's really hard to see the success. So, I really have been starting to get quite honest about what's going well and what isn't going well, and celebrating the things that we've done, right? And I just, spent some time reflecting on the last year because we were incorporated just under a year ago in a couple days. And so, just reflecting on all of the work that's happened, I realized, whoa, hold on. I just been in, actual go mode. I haven't stopped to celebrate. And so purposely, I've set some time aside during this holiday break where I'm gonna just be with my family and celebrate. And for me, like that is the greatest gift. And the other part of your question was about how do I celebrate, or I missed the
How do you
second part there.
define success?
Oh, how do I define it? So that one, I often people define success by finances, and frankly, that's not even possible given the state of our new and budgeting company, right? So we're not in profit yet, and that's okay. What I do define success as is really uniquely linked to the fact that my company, I can proudly say, is in line with my beliefs and my values. And I don't think I would feel so proud or so successful if I wasn't able to clearly define those pieces of our company. And so for me, success is being able to be in charge of a company that absolutely is in line with what I believe. And so for me, that's success.
Stay ahead of the game with our expert tips and strategies that will help your business thrive in a digital era. CanadasPodcast.com. Subscribe now.
That is beautiful. I love that. What do you do when fear and doubt creeps in? Because that is going to creep in.
Yeah, it creeps in all the time. Sometimes just like wavering, and sometimes, it's got me, right? And so, again, some of that fear and doubt crept in when I realized some mistakes I'd made, and I get support, right? So as a therapist, it's pretty important that I get my own therapy, and that's quite an ethical thing to do, but also it's a really important thing to do. So I have a person who, no matter what I say to them, they're on my team. They're supporting me through my journey. So I get mental health support, number one. Number two, I try to connect with other amazing entrepreneurs who, understand and can get what I'm going through. And this amazing journey, as I said, I've, connected with so many amazing entrepreneurs, many female entrepreneurs who are always ready to be your cheerleader and always ready to say, I totally get it. And maybe I can offer you, this support or this idea, right? And so we just stay connected, we support each other, and being it's interesting because like at my lowest, you're like, I don't want to be vulnerable, I don't want to put myself out there. But when I have asked for the support, when I have felt like, this is, what did I do, um people are there, people stand up for you, people step up. And um I think the biggest thing is like just not being afraid to ask for the help, right? Regardless of what that is, whether it's my mental health, whether it's to do with my business, but all of that stuff is intertwined, and I can't really easily like dissect it and say, well, I must be needing some mental health support, because for me, it's like that they're all connected and you can't distinguish. But honestly, people just step up, they help, and being vulnerable has been the biggest lesson, I think, in this journey for me.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I have found too as an entrepreneur, when I reach out and ask for help, it's given back tenfold. So I always love helping people as well, paying it forward. So what either routines or what do you do that you have in place to help you stay balanced? You talked about the importance of getting your own mental health support. Is there any other things that you do that help you stay grounded and have that balance?
Yeah, I think I have good friends I connect with who I can just have a laugh with. I I think laughter is one of, the greatest things for anyone, and especially for me. Simple things like making sure I'm drinking enough water. Honestly, like it's one of those things that you find over years of working with people that almost everybody is not drinking enough water, and it sounds so silly and so simple, but it just helps your brain work better. It helps you feel better. I try to get outside every day. Like I said, it's pretty beautiful here and it's getting harder with the shortened days, but I do try to get outside every day and just breathe in that glorious fresh air and just, look at the expanse of green around me and try to walk. And I also definitely spend time with my family. That fills me up. Absolutely. But yeah, it's hard being an entrepreneur because I want to work all the time uh, because I'm so passionate about it. But I also know that like there's a reason that I'm doing all of this, and one of the reasons is so I can live in this beautiful place and enjoy it with my family. So I just try to remind myself of that as much as I possibly can, and take the moments where I can get them and carve out time when I can.
That is so great. So my last question for you today is there any book you read, any piece of advice, anything that resonates with you that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah. It's so tricky for me to like narrow down because I'm often giving book recommendations, but I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think I kind of said this already, and it's a little bit of a more vague answer, but I think is one of the keys to being successful as an entrepreneur is getting connected, right? And so like building that network, building the people that are going to be there when you fall down, building the people that are going to help propel you forward, be building a connection of people that are going to keep you accountable and push you forward. I could not do this alone. While I sit alone a lot, building that network has been a key piece in helping me get through this last year. There is absolutely no way that I would be sitting here smiling, talking to you today had I not had that network. And, I am an introvert. So building that network wasn't the easiest, but I did it. I got out there, I was vulnerable, and I built it. And I have no regrets about that because, just before we hopped on this call today, I was networking with a group of female entrepreneurs and, you know, connecting with them about something. And it just fills you up and it just helps you stay focused. It helps you get the support you need. And I just can't say enough about that piece. And it seems so simple, but it was really the difference between me being successful and not.
I love that. I just had supper with somebody in Toronto a couple of weeks ago. I was speaking at a conference and she said, I work at home alone and this has filled my soul. Being around like-minded people and just sitting across the table. And if you only make one connection, she says, it's filled my soul. So those
Mhm.
connections can really help us, right? So if people want to find your business to learn more, where do they go?
Yeah, our website is helpclinic.ca. So helpclinic.ca. So you can find our therapist there. There's an email and a phone number if you want to reach out for anything. And you can also find me personally on LinkedIn under Maureen Cottaspotty.
Well, thank you so much. I will definitely be checking out your website.